Drums of War, Chapter 48, Part 2. Upon the Imperial Throne. The attendants were forewarned, and had steeled themselves against the revelations that Emperor Nebuchadnezzar Hammurabi the 27th had made. But naught could prepare them for the struggle that they bore witness to. They all, both men and women, wept for their suffering emperor, even as they schooled their faces and bodies to stillness. If they could know the struggle and suffering beyond their sight, they would have wailed. For Emperor Nebuchadnezzar Hammurabi the 27th fought with every fiber of his soul to keep upright, to keep his ruined voice clear, to look unflinchingly into the unknown. Axur's delight in tormenting him with the knowledge of what the sovereign should be had turned out to the good of the attendants, at least. Therefore, he gathered what little of his dwindling strength he could and continued. I have called them the sons and daughters of the avenged goddess Republic for a reason. She has been avenged against Axur, and I have begun the process of surrender. A strange word, and the rumors have been true the whole of this time. We shall not be destroyed by the invocation of this word. Many believed these rumors were lies to lure the weak of mind to their deaths. But now you shall see it is not so. From this point hence, it is the will of the Emperor that you shall obey the sons and daughters of the Republic, shall make no hostile moves towards them, and shall make known any requirements or requests you have for them. While the goddess Republic accounts herself avenged, yet her sons have abundance of caution. Next was more difficult. He caught his breath and began once more. It is by their law and custom that we must as a people atone for what we have wrought in the name of our false god. The War Master has explained much of this to me, and more shall be explained in the days to come. However, in the here and now, it may suffice to state it simply. In my remaining time, I shall be choosing from our empire a selection of 6 worlds for the whole of our population to inhabit. These worlds will be selected to give you the best chance at forging a path of prosperity and thriving. And thus many of our forebearer worlds shall be abandoned as the monuments to a forgotten people that they are. Once there, our people must content themselves with these 6 worlds only, which I believe you shall find no trouble doing, for you shall have enough to fill your days in contending with what I am sure will be a difficult path. 3 generations of our people shall pass before you may sally forth once more, and in that time the sons of the avenged goddess Republic shall defend and aid you, if and as it is required. Furthermore, there must be an accounting for certain actions taken in war. What we consider to be a matter of course, the sons and daughters of the avenged goddess Republic count to be grave offenses which must be redressed. It is true that these were committed because we were deceived, yet we committed them ourselves, for we were too weak to pierce the deception of Axur, or too weak to resist its dominion. This weakness has led to our offending the sons and daughters of the avenged goddess Republic, and it is their law and custom to call each person who committed such acts for the accounting. Regrettably, they shall not accept your emperor as a recompense for all of these offenses, and shall instead bring forth individuals from the nobility to account for themselves in what they call the court of law. I confess, despite the War Master's best efforts, I do not understand all this shall entail, but it is the will of the Emperor that those called out face the justice of the sons and daughters of the avenged goddess Republic with straight backs and open eyes. This will be the first step in your growth towards becoming mighty in wisdom. Here, once again, the Emperor was obliged to rest, to drink water, and to collect his strength in silence. Upon the agri-world Zeru, the wide plaza before the temple steps had become a roiling mass of confusion, of emotions running high, and Labor 948309294 was just another grain of sand on that shifting storm. Shouts and cries had filled the silence of the Emperor's resting paws, while she fought only to keep her feet. There was a feeling among the people, an ugly feeling, and Laborer 94830294 did not wish to be amidst the press as she was. She still grappled against the idea that their warriors had lost the conquest, that their god had been slain, and the Republic shall order the daunting change in her life. Mayhap her world be one of the chosen. The city certainly had room for more people, empty as they had stood from time out of mind. "Listen, O people," her voice, strong and clear, rang out, "for the avenged goddess Republic is unlike Xur, and thirsts not for our blood. Her vengeance is sated, her rage is quelled. Fear not atoning to her sons, for our weakness has been cast away, and we can do as the Emperor says, become mighty in wisdom." "Fool!" another shouted. "How could she thirst for anything other than blood? Where shall she gather her strength from? The sons of the vengeful goddess Republic offer up no sacrifices of their own kind. So where is her thirst sated? Fool! It is this lack of faith which caused the Emperor to die." "It is you that is being foolish," yet another said. "For as you say, the sons of the avenged goddess Republic spill no blood for her thirst, not of their own, and not of the captives. Therefore it must be that she thirsts not for blood." The earlier one sneered in reply. "And wherefore do they wish to make some of us to account for actions? Is it to deem those unworthy of life, and spill their lifeblood upon the thirsty sands? And if our warriors had won, would their emperor be giving such a speech?" All fell silent at that question, yet the throng did not calm. Within POW Camp 23, on Agricultural Planet 48, in the clans of Altra, Narix Kun nodded at that. From his conversations aboard the warship Tiger Lily, he knew well that the Terrans considered a man responsible even when obeying orders. It is why he expected that he should be one of those called on to account for his deeds, for he had done things which had held great defenses. He had begun to see that their view on those actions was more correct than the view he held when he had done them, and his sorrow at that was like a maxia coiled about his very heart. His sorrow did little to change those deeds, however, and he should be glad to learn how he shall atone. The others, even those who had resolved, showed signs of bewilderment. He smiled to himself at that. His days would be filled with questions from all and sundries, for all knew, when none could fathom the peculiar ways of the Terrans, that he shall explain their strange ways. In truth, he thought he shall have to request a meeting with the camp commander, or another officer who may be able to answer his questions, to furnish this service to his people. It was strange that he alone had no fear of reprisals for making such requests. Aboard a glorious man of war of the Exarch Dominion, every initiate highborn on that bridge had shifted their eyes to the acolyte lord when the Emperor fell silent once more. Initiate highborn AleCuevo Nathras thought that his countenance showed troubled thought. He supposed his thoughts were troubled, too. What shall he do with himself if he was not the master of senses aboard a warship? Where should his service lie if his god is slain and his emperor was merely a puppet? Would the sons of the avenged goddess Republic demand an accounting from him? Could they reject the orders of their emperor? In the Exarch trenches on the planet Nendra, the dugout was silent. Warrior 23841749's mind could not hold all of the questions raised by this complicated segment of speech, and felt that already he was failing to grow mighty in wisdom. Laws and customs existing outside the Dominion was already such a mad revelation that he scarcely knew how to even begin ordering his thoughts on that itself, let alone the rest. If he was not wise enough to comprehend what comes next, then he was at least wise enough to not add to the confusion with his foolish questions. Within the throne room, Emperor Nebuchadnezzar Hammurabi the 27th had once again recovered enough strength to continue. So he began. "It is a great gift our victorious foes to give us on this day. It is time and protection from any on the outside who might find their vengeance unsatisfied by the deeds of the sons of the avenged goddess Republic. Time in the wilderness, where we may discover and cast away our weaknesses by its harsh deprivations. Wisdom grows mighty just as the body grows mighty, through contention. And so, when I have passed from this vale into the sands of the unknown, you must contend against an uncertain future. You must master yourselves. You must command where your loyalty, faith, and service should lie, or lie anywhere at all. It shall be difficult, and it is my eternal sorrow that I can do little more than offer parting words in the hopes that they may be wise. Emperor Nebuchadnezzar Hammurabi the 27th shifted his feeble weight on the throne slightly and took a few deep breaths before continuing. To that end, I say to you, my faithful and loyal subjects, look upon a mirror and behold your enemy. Indeed, it is not the outsider, the unworthy, or even the victorious who you must contend with, but yourselves. You shall have 3 generations to find victory in this long war, my subjects, to become self-masters, and should you fail, then even without exer you shall be mastered by its legacy. And then your descendants shall repeat the mistakes we of this generation made. Should this terrible fate come to pass, the sons and daughters of the avenged goddess Republic shall exact a deeper vengeance against not the dead god, but your descendants. Do not be defeated about yourselves. Master yourselves, and grow mighty in wisdom, such that those who come after you can grow mightier still. Tears fell from Emperor Nebuchadnezzar Hammurabi the 27th's unblinking eyes as he said, Behold, the one of you who should have the greatest might in wisdom, knowledge, and strength was foolish, unknowing, and broken. Behold, also, that he is not struck down in fury by the wiser, more knowing, and stronger, but instead they use these to help him in his last days. This is the might that our people can attain, should we gain victory over the enemy in the mirror. The strong have laid us low in the weakness of our folly, but do not smite us from the stars, and instead bid us to become strong as they are. I weep now for the generations who come before, who knew not such might could be striven for. I weep now for the suffering my people shall endure to attain this might. May your souls never waver in this battle to come. Farewell. Aboard a glorious man of war of the Exarch Dominion, Initiate Highborn, AleCuevo, and Nathras stared at the main screen as it faded to black inactivity. All things would change, and much of the Emperor's words were difficult. All things would change, and he knew not whether he had what the Emperor said would be required. It was daunting. All things would change. In the Exarch trenches on the planet Nendra, Warrior 23841749 stumbled out into the daylight, blinking and confused. His mind could not hold all of the changes that were sure to come. His thoughts were confused and disordered. A thought of action intruded, and before he could stop himself, he acted. He clambered up out of the trench and stood in the open without even a helmet or his weapon. All who saw were amazed that he did not perish. Aboard a glorious man of war of the Exarch Dominion. Set course for home, the Acolyte Lord ordered from the command throne. I obey, and Initiate Highborn choked out. Initiate Highborn, AleCuevo, and Nathras said nothing. He stared at his station screen, dumbfounded. Become mighty in wisdom, his Emperor had said. How does one begin to become mighty in wisdom? Within POW Camp 23, Narek Squedden wiped away the tears from his cheeks. He had not the words to describe how he felt. But should another supply them, he was relieved that his Emperor was just as bound as he, if not more, grateful to have seen the whole of his people freed, repentant of his old ways. and aggrieved are his own sins. He had done great evil by the reckoning of the Terrans, and not only those of the Republic, and he knew that, and wished to atone, to make amending. But he had little hope in that direction. He believed that the principles of their justice would demand his very life as payment, and he had no intention of shirking the price for the evil that he had wrought. However, he took comfort in the knowledge that this speech by the Emperor would save countless who, like him, had great zeal in the service to Emperor and God alike. Even so, he dried his eyes. There was no time for weeping. He had much work to do before he was called to account for his deeds. Deep within the imperial palace, Marianne MacDade was not a military woman. She wasn't even part of the Tsar Corps, and was in no way a serviceman or servicewoman. She was entirely civilian, and even though she was an RN who had taken a job aboard the Speaking Softly, she had sneered at the men and women who foolishly signed away years of their lives to take cut pay in hard conditions, and might even die for the purely ceremonial privilege. She had changed her mind about their foolishness over the past year, but knew in her heart that she didn't have it in her to join any of the services. She was a civvy, and she liked it that way. It was just as well, because her job depended on her not being military or paramilitary, since a surprising number of Xenos find military bearings in Terrans, especially humans, intimidating. That wouldn't have been so bad, except almost all of the Xenos found humans adorable, which made providing even the simplest of medical services, when necessary, simply untenable. Which explained why she was on an alien planet, holding the hand of an aged Xenos woman, acting as a doula. Luckily, Exarch childbirth had a lot in common with human childbirth. Less luckily, one had been done to the woman, well, what had been done to her turned Marianne's stomach. Tubes and wires invaded her body at the base of her skull, in her armpits, behind her knees. And Marianne didn't want to think about the parts of Holy Empress Everquana Star, the 33rd, that she couldn't see. The Navy had wanted to separate her from the machines immediately, and allow the poor woman a little dignity before she died. But there had been a complication. The woman was pregnant. Marianne understood that the attendants told the Navy that she was always pregnant, and she was always supposed to provide a male to take the place of the Emperor in a different machine. They couldn't remove her without killing the baby. And after she explained that there would be absolutely no culling, Holy Empress Invokwana Extar the 33rd was very insistent that any separation would happen after she'd given birth. Marianne tried not to think about how matter-of-fact the old woman and her attendants were about babies being culled like sick and suffering hens. "You're doing great, honey," Marianne said in what she guessed must be a thickly accented version of Exarch language. Well, honey wasn't a concept they had, so she just used commercial English for that word. "Remember to breathe," she told the ancient mother, as she gently stroked her hair and tried not to think about how she wished her hands weren't encased in that awful machine. A woman holding birth should be able to hold hands with another living person. Marianne blinked back tears and put on the warmest smile she could. "Blow!" Holy Empress Invokwana Extar the 33rd shouted, in the throes of birthing pain. "The bride to Exur has dragged him from the stars. Hearken, for the avenged goddess Republic stays her terrible soul to God justice. Heed, for the Exarch stand upon the edge of a knife. Though the feet of Exarch are cut as they tread, should they fail to walk this narrow path, Death herself shall return for another bridegroom, and the avenged goddess shall be vengeful once more." "Shh," Marianne cooed. "Your people have a chance, honey. Your Emperor's talking them through it now. Don't worry. Just focus on your baby. Your baby that's going to live, because Oxur can't get him." Holy Empress Invokwana Extar the 33rd met eyes with Marianne, and Marianne kept stroking her hair. "Yes, you shall ensure he shall have a chance to live." "Of course, honey." End of chapter. I'd quickly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.